Welcome to this session on safety and technology. And I'm lucky enough to be joined by some real experts this afternoon. First of all, I've got Simon Dix, Insurance Channel Manager for Lytx. I've got Michael Tansey, UK Fleet Practice Lead for RSA Risk Consulting, and Abhinav Vasu, Associate Vice President, Solutions Engineering at Geotab. Welcome them all, please. How would you characterize those most significant changes in telematics in recent years, Abs?
I think one of the most significant changes in telematics is, first of all, being the adoption of moving away from just the kind of traditional dots on the map and actually starting to leverage a lot more on the data side. That's one of those key factors which has led to a lot more data. So, I mean, at Geotab, for instance, we collect about 75 billion data points a day. What you can do with that data is the critical component here. The insights you can actually draw. And of course, the advent of AI. I think that's the major topic of today. So AI, the way AI is being used to advantages, the way AI and machine learning are driving better insights for fleets, better insights for drivers, for insurance, for safety, and for risk. And combining the power of telematics of vehicle data along with the power of what that brings in terms of a contextual risk pattern and algorithm on the video side, I think is absolutely critical. So very keen to hear Simon's thoughts on the video side as well.
Sure, and I think from the telematics side of things, what we're definitely seeing is the need to contextualize what happened when it comes to a harsh brake, a harsh corner, or a harsh turn. So, for example, a vehicle doesn't just harsh brake by itself, right? Okay, autonomous vehicles aside, we'll have that debate on another day. But normally, the pink squishy thing behind the wheel is what is responsible for that brake. So the video with Inside Lens AI really enables the customer, the fleet director, the owner, to understand why did that event happen. So we're seeing the telematics data really being enhanced with the video, which then enables a big improvement in risk and safety, because we can understand, for example, a driver harsh broke because they were distracted on a mobile phone or they were eating or drinking. So in doing that, you can then address that from a coaching and behavioral aspect to help create change. And then help create change, then creates multiple benefits.
A safer environment.
Absolutely.
Indeed. And let me just say for the record, I hate data. What I love is insight. And this is what we're talking about, isn't it? It's we're taking this number crunching matrix world and actually giving us something sensible to work with, something that as fleet managers we can take action with.
Absolutely.
It's a good point, Paul. I think as an insurer, we are drowning in data. And in the last decade or so, we've seen the advent of in-vehicle CCTV, dash cams, etc. And actually, the truth is, it's been really useful, but it hasn't had the impact we wanted it to have or thought it would have, because largely it's been a reactive scenario. Been great for claims defensibility, hasn't really changed risk levels.
Wow. And it should, really, shouldn't it?
It should. So this is why AI is so fantastic for us and for everyone, we hope.
So there's a phrase that perhaps many of us might not have heard. AI is so fantastic, because there's a lot of fear-mongering around artificial intelligence, isn't there? You know, that how it's going to, bring it in on itself and create World War III. I think that's probably a bit of a stretch. Wouldn't you agree, guys?
I would definitely agree that that is a huge stretch. What we see from a Lytx perspective with AI is this is helping drivers remain safe, and improving the safety is then preventing a collision. And in preventing a collision, there's so many benefits from the operational perspective of the fleet. So when I work closely with Mike and we look at the number of incidents that occur during a fleet that's perhaps got no technology, When you then put in proactive technology, which is the AI side of things, you actually then see the prevention of collisions. And that fleet then has a more sustainable fleet. The drivers get home each day. There's not insurance spend. So if we're thinking about where we are in this world of sustainability and AI, AI is here. It's not going to change. And this is going to help our industry remain safe.
Yeah, totally. And Abs, just before we get, because we all want to know what insurance think about how this is going to benefit us, don't we? But Abs, tell me, AI is helping us in terms of writing our reports and getting the right information out, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were talking about safety here, but if you look at all the components that are driving safety, there's everything from the maintenance of the vehicle. A well-maintained vehicle generally tends to be a safer vehicle. So all these insights that we're drawing from the vehicle, all these data elements that AI is putting together and kind of putting that story and insight together on the trends and the patterns that are leading up to an event rather than post the event. So a more proactive approach, as Simon mentioned, is essentially what we're driving towards. A safer fleet, a more sustainable fleet, safer drivers. Again, very important. At the end of the day, we all want lesser collisions on the road, lesser incidents, lesser accidents, lesser infringements, and we want it to be a much safer place. And that's essentially what AI is driving. All of these, the matrix, as Paul mentioned, putting that together in meaningful, insightful trends and patterns. That's really what we're driving to.
Oh, meaningful, insightful. That's just, bring it on. But so what is that meaningful and insightful information? How is that going to sort of impact costs? Because that's what we all want to know, isn't it? Is it going to change the insurance landscape? Because it's tough.
Good question, Paul. I'd be lying if I said I'd never been asked that question before. So I've only been asked the question 20 times last week and 20 times the week before, and for the last 25 years. Okay, I need to spend a couple of minutes on this. So, in essence, commercial motor insurance deals have been underwritten in very much the same way for decades. The insurer takes claims information over 3 or 5 years. We look at vehicle numbers, vehicle types. We look at the business that the customer, potential customer is in. We crunch those numbers together and we come up with a premium. Sometimes we get fact finders and additional information from brokers. Sometimes it's really useful, but more often than not, it doesn't give us enough information to make us do anything that we've always done. We give a deal based on historic figures. Last 3 or 4 years, we've been working closely with Simon and Lytx, and obviously Lytx partners, Geotab being primary. And you know what? We've learned such a lot in that period of time. We've learned that we have to use this data in a really structured way if we're going to change the way we underwrite, if we're going to write better deals, actually make money out of this. Believe it or not, insurers don't make a lot of money out of commercial motor. Most times they don't. It's sort of a loss-leading brand or class of business. So you know what? We found that if we structure deals in a certain way, specific parameters, install camera AI systems within 30 days, ensure that there's rules around how the customer responds to the alerts that the AI system gives, and agree that if there are breaches to that, then we have to do something about it. So we write a really nice, attractive deal, but if the customer doesn't fulfill the deal, then we have to go back to something else, additional premium, increased excess, or whatever. I think the point is that when we get great information, better data equals better deals. We're able to give lower premiums. We're able to fund the technology, either fully or partially. We can give low claims rebates. We can have sustainable and predictable premiums. So I think that's fantastic. There's obviously loads of customer benefits that aren't directly cost related. I think the major one is that the customer potentially becomes a a far more attractive proposition to the insurance market, which is great for the customer because it means they can have really front-footed conversations that saves them money, that makes insurers comfortable with writing their business.
Feels like over the years, we in the fleet industry have heard the stories of bursaries and incentives and all of those kinds of things to get telematics fitted, to get cameras fitted, to do that. So we've seen the reduction sort of almost not in the insurance cost, but what you're saying now is that actually the data and the insight that you're going to get is actually going to be able to drive it down. I'm going to relate it back to something really simple. When my daughter got her first car, you have the little box in there, which could be from anybody. They're not necessarily particularly clever or insightful things, but they give a number of stats and they help them drive in the green zone, and then they can maintain their costs, or their insurance might be under threat. It's that kind of thing, isn't it?
I think it's similar. I'd like to think it's slightly more sophisticated and less...
Well, I hope so.
Yeah. So it's not a case of 3 strikes and you're out and your daughter has to go down the road and spend you have to spend $3,500
Probably.
Whatever it costs. So yeah, it's very similar. I think it's an evolution of that, and I think as time rolls on, inevitably we'll see more and more of this. And I think it will be to everyone's benefit, but we do have to overcome the hurdle of AI is dangerous and scary, because it could be, but actually in this context I don't think it will be.
I agree completely. And why haven't we seen these benefits so far? Why have we missed the opportunity to date?
So I would say what we've seen from the fleets that we've worked with, looking at claims cost, frequency and severity, and how long they've had technology or no technology in, what we've learned is that there's the 2 types of technology. You've got the reactive technology. So for example, a first notification of loss, a claim has happened, data goes up, and the insurer are aware of that data. Great data for then analysing the claim and dealing with the claim, but actually the claim has still happened. People are still injured, vehicles are still damaged, costs are still acquired. With the introduction of AI over the last 5 years, what we're now seeing is, because of the AI helping the drivers change behaviour and then giving them alert inside of the vehicle, the alert is the consequence for their distraction, and therefore their eyes are back on the road and the collision does not happen. That audio alert is the proactive technology, which is now what we're seeing is utilising that proactive technology and data for good. So for example, if a fleet is showing the Geotab Lytx data from improvement in the harsh break-ins, as well as the behavioural improvements, the insurer can then look at that and see, well, this fleet is doing what they can to help present themselves as a good fleet to insure. So it's the evolution of proactive technology is now in our industry, enabling us to change. There's still a long way to go.
Abs?
Yeah, I think proactive is the key word here. Proactive is really the key word. Moving away from, traditionally a lot of things around safety have been fairly negative psychology. It's been infringements, violations, broken rules, breaking things, not doing the right things. Whereas this proactive technology is also giving everyone a chance to correct themselves and not have to wait for that mistake or problem to actually rear its head. And that proactivity is essentially giving even the likes of insurers the ability to put forth programs that are helping fleets, programs that are helping fleets, drivers, customers to really drive forward a more self-sustaining, safer fleet, essentially. And the incentive kind of drives all the way through from the technology provider all the way down to the eventual end user being the driver, right? So it drives all the way through from there. And that proactive nature is really the thing. And AI, Michael mentioned, and Paul also mentioned, AI, yes, can be perceived sometimes as scary, but I grew up watching Terminator, 1, 2, 3, all of them.
A way to go to help us.
Yeah, it was scary, but this is not that. This is not the Terminator, right? This is AI being used for data to draw up good quality insights for the fleets and for the drivers, and for insurance companies.
Mike, what do you think?
I think AI and the insight that it gives us is absolutely critical. As I said before, I think we've seen technology introduced into our world, and people got very, very excited a dozen years ago or thereabouts. Camera systems, fantastic. We put a camera in, everything's going to be good. The driver's going to be aware he's being watched, and he's going to drive better. Loads of insurance deals were struck around that time. We had a couple of halcyon years for the sales personnel in those insurance companies. Apologies to anyone who's out there. They probably did very well in that period. But you know what? We didn't really benefit from that in the round. Good companies perform well because they use the data, if you like, better than others. But actually, it's quite hard to use technology, CCTV data proactively. Have you really got time to randomly look at a driver's driving for the day or even a portion of it? No, you haven't. AI just cuts through some of that, gives flags that are really important. There's no false positives with the system that Lytx and Geotab operate.
Yeah.
It's fantastic for us, but the hard bit is to get everyone on board, agreeing in a very transparent way what needs to be in place.
And that's a perfect segue, because fleet managers have got a tough job. There's probably a few in the room. They have a really tough job. They've got a lot of conflicting challenges around cost. We've got to get it cheaper so that we can save money. We've got to decarbonize. There's another lovely little challenge that we've all got. All of these technologies are quite complex. So, guys, I need some advice. What should they be mindful of in this whole process?
Put my fleet manager's hat on. Absolutely right. There's a ton of things going on. And from a data perspective, anything that AI can do to help that fleet manager be more efficient is going to be a benefit to their job, right? So as an example, if a fleet is looking at data which is just ones and twos, it's a dashboard, and they look at that and go, what do I need to do with that, right? It's just a dashboard. It might mean anything. It might not mean anything. Whereas if that dashboard includes a picture or an alert to show that a driver has been distracted, and how the Lytx solution works, we provide a first notification of risk to the driver inside of the vehicle without any management intervention whatsoever. This is aimed to help them change behavior at their own accord automatically. So if they change behavior in that moment, then no data gets transmitted anywhere else. So if a fleet manager does get some data to show that a driver, Paul, was distracted, smoking, didn't have his seatbelt on, was on his mobile phone, and was eating, well, then there's a conversation can be had very quickly, very fast. And then in doing so, you help create that change, which makes that driver safer. So it's really utilizing AI to help create change, which then the benefit of change helps that business wide.
So the fleet manager really needs to be mindful that they're getting actionable insight, that it tells them in the moment what they should do. Have I read that right, Abs?
Yes, you have. Actionable insight is the critical thing. I mean, you were mentioning you don't like data,
No.
but data is what drives the insights. I get it from your perspective completely, Paul. but data is what drives that insight. And only with that volume and mass of data can you start to make products and features such as this, which are helping fleet managers adopt the change, and change being the difficult thing to do. It is difficult to change, right? You're moving from a method that has been followed for decades, years, or a traditional method that fleet managers have been following to make that change into following an AI-driven method is not easy. We completely get that. It is difficult. That change is difficult. But these insights, I think the challenge, which was the original question you asked, Paul, the challenge is that I don't think fleet managers are fully using the potential of the data and the insights. There's a lot of data. There's a lot of untapped value and ROI that can be drawn from this. And using AI, partnering with Lytx, the Geotab and Lytx together, we are trying to really drive that forward to say AI is going to help you unlock that value that you know today, but also the value that you potentially don't know about. And that change, the procedural change, the mindset to say we would like to make the change, I think is what needs to be untapped here.
Yeah, I do think I have every sympathy with fleet managers because they're having so many things thrown at them. And that's where this artificial intelligence comes in, isn't it? It's
right.
like, you ask Alexa in the corner, tell me what the weather is for today, because we save a lot of time rather than going trawling through an app or something like that.
Yep.
We get that to our doorstep, and this is what AI is doing. As an insurer, what do you think fleet managers need to be mindful of?
Okay, so I'll just take it before. I think we need to look at the step before that. So I think Ab's mentioned cultural change and so forth. So I think when we're trying to sell deals that are AI-centric, Lytx-centric, then I think we need to be absolutely crystal clear what that involves. Because it does involve, well, you're selling something that makes the life of the fleet manager easier, on one hand, because he's getting insightful information. But he also will be thinking to himself, I'm going to get a load of grief from my drivers. So first of all, we need to have serious conversation at the front end. This is what the deal looks like. This is how the system works, and this is what you need to do to react to these alerts. And you need to include the drivers, reassure them that, you know what, if you're driving normally and you're not breaking the law, etc., you're probably going to be okay. And we're probably going to be able to look after you and remunerate you in a bigger sense. The fleet manager's life ultimately will be easier with this, because the insights and the flags are there, they're clear, and they're meaningful. Yeah. So I think once we overcome these hurdles, and they're not insignificant. Simon and I have had many cases over the last couple of years that some have been greatly successful, some have looked like they're going to be successful and weren't, and some just haven't taken off at all. But we've learnt so much from that. The answer is quite simple, but we need to educate people. And when we talk about AI, Lytx systems with FNOR and Geotab, we're not talking about camera systems. Don't interchange CCTV dash cams and Lytx AI FNOR. They are different.
Indeed. And I think drivers, most people know I talk a lot about electric vans. It's a passion of mine, and central to that is educating the driver and helping the drivers understand the benefits for them and getting them on board and engaged. Where do you think drivers are at in this whole process currently? Now, I agree with your positive steps, but where's the driver market at the moment?
You're looking at me, Paul.
You Simon?
You start,
okay.
Then you Abs.
We mentioned the word education, and Mike mentioned about onboarding customers and fleets and drivers, and that ultimately is absolutely crucial and key. If a driver gets into a vehicle on a Monday morning and there's a camera looking at them, what do you think they're going to do? Sock, packet of crisps, twist it, turn it, yeah?
Rip it off and chuck it out the window.
Exactly right. So they need to understand, why is it there, what is it doing? We have over 1 million vehicles connected globally, all with inside lens video. Some of those are unionized fleets. So how the hell do we do that? It was through onboarding, education, communication to say, this is a driver safety tool that is going to help you get home safely each day. And once a driver understands how it works, then it gets a much better result. You can't just stick it in and then walk away.
No. Mike?
I completely agree with you, Simon. I was going to flip a question to you, Simon. I hope this isn't going off piece at all, but...
It is, but it's okay.
Okay,
I'll do it. What are you going to ask?
Anyway. So in terms of driver confidence and fleet manager confidence, I think you've got something in your armoury that can help out, Simon, there?
So,
Weighted question.
I think I know where Mike's going with this one. So from a driver perspective and in a fleet perspective, when we talk about inside lens video, it's very emotional, right? It's very emotive. I don't want Big Brother watching me. Absolutely right. We don't want to be watching you either. Therefore, the solution has configurability. Sorry, I'm going to take a sip of water.
You looked at me when you said, I don't want to be watching you. So, spent the years building a career on LinkedIn here, and now you don't want to watch me anymore. Okay.
The solution is not there to record every single movement. We're looking for high-risky and risky behaviors. And from a privacy perspective, if that fleet or that driver for the fleet does not want to have inside lens video on, no problem. Configurability through the Geotab platform allows video to be off, but the AI to be on. And therefore, we're still alerting to distraction. We're still helping the behavior change, but no video is being recorded and sent up to the cloud. Now, that is a game changer. It's a USP to what Lytx and Geotab offer, and it really helps fleets adopt it as a first phase of, well, we're thinking about AI, let's introduce it, let's see what happens, and then things can be upskilled through time.
So let me just be absolutely clear here. It's like eyes watching you, so the eyes are still watching, but they're just not recording, and they are giving the notification, look, we can see you doing this, but we're not going to record the visual.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's we call it lens as a sensor. So the lens is on, it's acting as a sensor, it's not recording any video.
Clever, I like that.
Thank you, Mike, for that one. That was a good prod.
Yeah,
No worries.
he missed that. I mean, he would have failed had you not helped him out.
Yeah.
Well done, thank you, Mike.
I feel this chair wobbling a little bit.
That's why I got you to move that way.
I'm not going to
Maybe I'll just stand. From the driver's perspective, yeah. What Simon mentioned, I think that's absolutely going to be a game changer. It's really cool technology. It's all driven by AI. The other aspect of the entire